Good morning. Welcome to Center Stage here at the Provincial Skills Canada competition. I know some of the events have started this morning, but we have a show for you up on the stage this morning. We have a very, very cool presentation. As you can see, we have a motorcycle up on stage. So if you are curious as to what this thing is doing up on stage, please come on down here to Center Stage. We have a really cool presentation starting right now. All right, are you all ready for this amazing presentation? I would like to introduce our speaker this morning, Josh. Now, Josh has actually built this Harley Davidson motorcycle you see here today from scratch on a student budget. So if you are interested in motorcycles and interested in how you could build your own motorcycle, Center Stage is a place to be. So everybody, please help me in welcoming Josh up to the stage.
Oh, okay, yeah. Where do you want me? There we go.
All right, so we're going to start off just with a little interview process, and we're going to ask Josh some questions, get to know him a little better, get to know his journey a little bit better, and then we're going to move on to actually learning some parts of the motorcycle. So, Josh, thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Can you please tell everybody here a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, your journey? Where did you start in this whole interest in motorcycles?
Well, I mean, my family's always been into motorcycles, realistically. My grandfather always rode bikes and actually passed away on one. But I've been riding dirt bikes since I was 8 years old. I've always liked bikes, and I mean, I always wanted a Harley. And so when at 15, I kind of made it happen. I started with an iron head that wasn't running and didn't look anything like that at all. and I paid $3,100 for it. And anyways, 2 years later, here we are, and I've spent about $15,000 on it. So yeah, I mean that's kind of what got me into bikes. Yeah. So.
Perfect. So I'm sure the audience is just itching to know more about this such cool looking motorcycle that's up on stage here today, and kind of knowing the background of where it came from. So can you just address the audience at kind of the starting point of this particular bike and all the hard work you put into it?
Yeah, well, I was actually 14. My uncle had bought it he bought it for himself actually to get it running and whatnot. And he was in Alberta. This is when I was living back in BC, and I just got my job at Mountain View Harley Davidson as a detailer at 14. That was pretty cool for me. And he told me he wanted to sell it to me for $6,500, and I said I wouldn't touch that bike for $6,500. But anyways, when I came out here for a visit, to visit friends and family, he came up to me and said, "Okay, I'll sell it to you for $35." I was like, "Yeah, I'll take that for $35. That's all right." And when I went back home, I'd actually decided to move back to Alberta with my aunt and uncle, and that meant quitting my job at Mountain View and having no money. So I contacted my uncle. I said, "Look, I owe you $400. He's like, "Yeah, I can do 31." And so, yeah. And then slowly over the last 2 years, I've just kind of bought parts, got it running. And then this bike is what taught me everything I know, most of what I know. I didn't know anything about an engine before I looked at that thing, and I wasn't paying somebody else to fix it, right? It's like $120 an hour that I don't have. So I kind of did it myself. It needed to be rewired. It needed a top and bottom end rebuild, right? And I mean, everything you look at, the fender, the front end, the sissy bar, the handlebars, everything is aftermarket. There's not a whole lot of stock about that bike anymore.
So just so I understand exactly what you said, so before you had this bike, you didn't know anything about reconstructing motorcycles, parts?
No, I didn't know at all. I had dirt bikes and everything, and I actually blew the top end on a little dirt bike I had, and I was too scared to tear it apart because, you know, I still wanted my dirt bike, but I mean, it wasn't getting fixed. And that's the same thing with this. I mean, I can be scared to fix it, or you can be scared to fix something, but it's never going to get fixed unless you pay somebody to do it, and I wasn't going to do that. So I kind of just forced myself to learn, and YouTube's great for that. I spent a lot of time.
I was just going to ask kind of your learning experience. How did you actually...
Oh, realistic YouTube. I tore it apart and had no clue. I was like, oh, there's some parts. And then I went home and I watched YouTube for hours and hours, and I still do, actually. I mean, it's a great learning tool. And that's kind of just what taught me. And then I got a grant to go to Fairview College to become a Harley Davidson technician. And so I went there, and I actually got top class standing. And it was 100% paid for.
Very cool, very cool. Now, it just blows my mind because you are 17 years old. 17 years old, building his own motorcycle. How much did it cost to build this motorcycle?
Like I say, I mean, 31 initially, and then over time I've kind of, I mean, every time I look at it, I spend $100 on it. And so, I mean, I was kind of hoping I could get it done for about $8,000, and that never happened. And then I got it running and it was pretty good for $11,000, and then I'm into it another few just because, you know, it's the beauty of a bike. It's never done, right? You can always do things to it, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So in that process of building a bike and being conscious about money and parts and such like that, what were some strategies that you used to make sure that you were sticking to a tight student budget while building this machine?
Well, I stopped living my life a little while, and I just spent everything I had on that thing. And I mean, that meant, you know, I never eat out, or I never ate out. I do now, and then just kind of things that you like pop. You can't just, you know, that's $5 or whatever, and then that can go towards this thing. And at the end of the year, that's quite a bit, right? Like I say, I mean, a lot of people tell me I spent way too much money on it. Well, that might be true, but I find a lot of them are smokers. And I think, what do you spend a day on cigarettes? $15? That's $5,500 a year, right? I could, for a household of smokers, like two people that smoke, I could build a bike every year for the rest of my life. Really.
I mean, when you find a passion, obviously passion is priceless.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to pour your heart into something, but obviously you do have to be money aware, but at the same time as well. So that's good to know that that was definitely a priority for you as well. Now, I'd like to kind of move on to another subject here with you, Josh, just in regards to your high school experience. It's a little bit different from a typical high school student.
Yes.
Can you speak about your high school experience?
Well, I mean, I've been to probably 15 different schools growing up. I've lived in 3 different provinces, and so I never really set roots, and I never had a lot of friends. I always had 1 or 2 really good friends, and never was super popular in high school. And I don't know. I mean, I like Harleys, and I don't know anybody in my school that actually likes Harleys too. And I mean, that kind of makes it a little difficult to to make friends if that's you know. I got a one-track mind. That's all I think about. And I mean, going to college was really awesome actually, because I was there with people with a common interest, people that were interested in the same thing as me, and I got a lot of good friends there, and a lot of friends there for the rest of my life. And the same thing with working at Harley. You know, it's good to have people around you that are, you know, that are like-minded, right?
Perfect. In regards to your high school experience, from my knowledge, you actually completed your post-secondary education while still in high school.
Yes.
Can you just speak towards that experience and maybe address to some of the high school students here today why they should maybe think about doing what you did in high school?
Why shouldn't you? I mean, realistically, if you can get the same thing I got, a grant from your school or from anything, as long as it's not affecting you from graduating high school, then there's really no reason why you shouldn't. Like I say, if you're interested in a subject and you're really passionate about it, I mean, you should go forward with it. You should take advantage of that, and especially if someone's willing to pay for your education, right? And it was probably one of the best experiences of my life, I think, and I think about it all the time, even now.
Perfect. Last question for you, Josh. So at the age of 17, you are already a certified motorcycle mechanic with first class standing, and you built your own bike. So what's next for you?
I want to be a teacher ultimately, but I mean, I'm going to have to become a mechanic first, like a fully red seal, and that's another couple years. So I plan on working at a dealership for a while and then going to get my degree in education. I kind of just want to be a teacher. This summer, I actually am going back to Mountain View Harley Davidson, where I worked as a technician. Right, for the first time, I was a detailer, and now I'm coming back as a technician, which is, you know, I like Harleys. I don't really like cleaning them all day, though. Right? It's a lot more fun to fix them and ride them, I think. So, but yeah, so that's kind of, yeah.
Perfect. Just gonna bug you one last time, Josh. You know, starting from being a high school student to now where you are at this moment in your life, do you have any advice for any high school student, any motivation for them, just to keep them going, follow their dreams, any advice for students that have such goals like you in life?
Well, I think once you find something you love, it's really easy. But you also have to convince yourself that you're capable, and I mean, you're capable of anything really, as long as you believe in yourself. And I mean, I was fortunate enough to be surrounded by family and friends that said, you can do it. And I mean, for a while there, I was really like, I don't know, can I do it? And I mean, when I was working at Mountain View, they told me like, oh, we can send you to Fairview. But I mean, they wouldn't be able to do it until I was 18, so that was 3-4 years away still. Didn't think much of it. And then I came to Fox Creek School, and NGPS told me that I, you know, could go to Fairview while still in high school. And I mean, if you love it, go do it. I mean, what's stopping you, really?
Yeah, you know, if you love something you do, obviously follow that passion. Perfect. Thank you. Really good words of advice there. So now, audience, this is going to be the fun part. We're now going to move on to a little bit of an activity with Josh.
Yeah.
We're going to identify some parts, I believe. Josh will kind of explain now. I'm kind of with some people maybe in the crowd. Maybe you're not familiar with bikes and mechanics and stuff like that. But Josh, since you want to be a teacher, now is your time to teach the audience and people like me exactly what is involved in some of these parts.
I was kind of hoping to get some people up here to identify parts, so we don't really have any around here. So.
Oh, we have some volunteers. We
Yeah.
have some. We're going to get some volunteers up here.
I'm just going to explain four-stroke theory, and then we're going to have people identify parts. But yeah. So is anybody willing to come up here and learn a little?
Yeah,
Yeah, come on up.
Yeah, definitely.
How about you guys? You guys want to come learn a
Would you
little
like
bit?
to come be involved in an activity? We
Come on
have
up.
prizes if anybody would like a prize.
Yeah. So
Come on up. Thank you.
we can have up to 5 people. How's it going? Good. Basically what we're doing here, I'm going to explain to you the inner workings of a 4-stroke engine. I'm going to tell you what the parts are and how it works. And after, you guys are going to have, however much time you need to identify what parts on this table. And whoever gets the most parts correct in the shortest amount of time, I guess wins the competition. And then at the end, we'll give you all a shirt. So anyways, I'll come here. If you guys can come around to here, I guess. Actually, yeah, you guys should probably come back here. That'd be best. They need to kind of be able to see this chart here. So in a 4-stroke engine, there are 4 strokes, obviously, right? And those strokes are intake, compression, power, exhaust. And intake stroke is basically when you intake the mixture of gasoline and air into the cylinder. And intake stroke is down. This is an intake stroke. You'll see this intake valve is opening, and that mixture is now coming into the cylinder through vacuum because this is now rushing down. Once you're at the bottom dead center, which is the bottom of the travel of the piston or the crankshaft, both valves begin to shut. Now you're on compression. You're now compressing that mixture into, whatever that is. It could be 9 to 1 or something like that. At this point, your spark plug ignites the mixture. The spark plug is typically up here, and it just ignites the mixture instantly, and that now expanding mixture forces that piston down in the rotation. And now you're at bottom dead center again. Once you get back there, the exhaust valve begins to open, and all that mixture escapes. Now, the parts that are inside that engine that allow that to happen are your crankshaft. That's this here. It's the heart of the engine, really. And then you have your camshaft, and that's connected to your crank. Your camshaft spins at half the speed of your crankshaft does, because it only has to move half the speed. On your camshaft, you have your tappet. Your tappet pushes on your push rod. Your push rod pushes on your rocker arm, and that turns upward movement into downward movement. And that now compresses that valve, or that valve spring, and forces that valve down from the seat, allowing air to pass through. Now, when that comes back up, it returns through the valve spring. And so basically all the parts that you're going to need to know to be able to do this is a valve, this is a valve spring, this is the rocker arm, this is the push rod, this is the tappet right here that connects, or that's between the camshaft and the push rod. This is your camshaft, your crankshaft, your connecting arm or your connecting rod, and your piston. Now, what I need you guys to do is identify all those parts on this table. I have paper here for you, just with the 6 parts.
You guys got all those parts? You memorized them?
So if you guys can identify those, you have as much time as you can. Whoever does it in the fastest amount of time, just put up your hand or tell me, and yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Hold on, let's start at the same time. Ready?
And
On your marks, get set, go!
of course, when there's 2 mating surfaces in an engine, there needs to be a gasket between them to create a seal. That's a little bit of a hint for some of you. Okay, let's see those.
Oh, we have somebody that thinks they have all of them. Let's see.
One is correct. Yeah, that's a type of rod. That's a push rod. That's what's right here. That's what activates the rocker arm.
In my defense, it's only 2B.
Yeah, I know, it is 2D, so that kind of makes a difference. Number 3 is a spark plug, that's correct. That's a piston. That is a circle thing. There are 4 circles.
The circle thing, okay.
It's a head gasket, so that's what, it's between the cylinder and the cylinder head. And then this is a half circle, yes. And that's actually a connecting rod bearing that I didn't really identify that, so I don't fault anybody for not getting that one. Does anybody get any of those?
Anybody else?
Anything get everything correct? Let's see this. Crankshaft connecting rod. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. And this
Did
is
you get them
this
all
one is
right?
the one you didn't get, but you got 5 out of 6 correct, so that's
Oh,
good.
congratulations.
All right. What have you got here? This is correct. You got one correct there. Good job, man. Thanks for coming up. And then, yeah, so.
Get them
Yeah,
all
somebody
right.
got 6 out of 5. Was that you? There you
6.
go. So this is our winner.
There we go. Congratulations. Big round of applause. And a big round of applause to all
There
of
should
our
be
volunteers
shirts here
up
for you.
here today. Excellent
Everybody
job.
gets a shirt. Yeah.
Now you can all go and buy your own parts and build
Oh,
your
and
own
if
bike.
anybody wants a picture on the bike, they're allowed to do that as well for coming up. This is yours. You can take a picture on the bike. There you go. Thanks. Thanks for coming up. Thanks. Thank you. All right. That concludes our presentation, I think. Yeah, like I say, anybody who wants a picture on the bike here.
Awesome. Thank you so much to our volunteers for helping us out with our game. And thank you so much to Josh for educating us about the different parts. Josh is going to stick around here at center stage for a couple minutes. If anybody would like a picture with Josh and his bike, he is going to allow you to come up onto center stage to take some photos. So once again, thank you so much to Josh for his presentation. And stick around center stage because starting at 10 o'clock, we have a hairstyling demonstration coming up. So please make your way over to center stage for 10 o'clock for our next presentation.